You know, you laugh, but on my way here on Sirius Satellite Radio, Seriously Sinatra, to get ready for my interview, which you're going to stick around for, Mayor Dominic Musey Jr. of Steubenville, I listened to a little Billy Eckstine, Nat King Cole, Route 66, in which you traveled, the original Route 66, Count Basie, Sinatra, Rosemary Clooney, I mean, Ella Fitzgerald. I have to say that you grew up probably in the best era in the history of music, and Dean Martin was such a big part of that.
First saw Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis.
Live?
Well, not quite.
Okay.
It was in the 50s, and they were hot,
Yeah.
and we were in New York. My folks, my mother mostly, always took us either Atlantic City or New York.
Nice.
And they were on the fire escape of, I think, the Paramount Theater, trying to get out of the building, and they were throwing leaflets out. They were up on a balcony, but they were, of course, a comedy team. When they broke up, everybody thought Jerry Lewis would go on to greater things, and
Which he did.
That would be the end of Dean Martin.
No. You know, I was talking about Dean Martin with you on the radio last night with Drew Monyo about one of my favorite movies. And Dean Martin was a great comedic talent. He was a great singer. He could dance. He could great straight man. But he was a marvelous actor. Some Came Running, in which he starred with Frank Sinatra and Shirley MacLaine, in which the ending of the movie was not to end the way it did, sadly, meaning Shirley MacLaine stepping in front of a bullet that was meant for Frank Sinatra. But Frank said, look, this is life, you got to let it happen, and it did. But I will always think of Dean Martin in that movie, one of the best performances I've ever seen, and that was just another part of his talent. So obviously all of that stuff enabled him to get into the Lou Holtz Upper Ohio Hall of Fame, right?
Well, of course, because he's such a predominant figure in this valley, and particularly Steubenville. But I said to you last night, we were talking on the radio, you go down on 4th Street in Steubenville and find 15 more guys just like Dean Martin.
Well, if you can, I'll sign each one of them. Hey, this was last year. Coach Ludwig getting ready for another season. You know, the Blue and White Touchdown Club, We Are East Liverpool, the East Liverpool alumni, the Clock Tower, the Hall of Fame, they do it all. You know, there's nothing like this time of year when you start to anticipate Friday night at Patterson Field, huh?
You're exactly right. And I was down tonight. They're doing their preseason, and you can just look at that old concrete stadium, which was built in 1934, and have you so many memories of the players, the cheerleaders, the marching band, the diehard fans that have stuck with the Potter football team now in its 119th year.
Now listen. This profiles in leadership. That's the coach, the ageless one, who does a great job. He is on radio now doing college football, Sirius Satellite Radio, and does a wonderful job. Been on the radio with me as well, but it hasn't been for a long time. But I've seen him and been with him. We were at the Oakmont Country Club not too long ago doing a wonderful evening for the nurses at the University of Pittsburgh. This man, I can't explain to you what it is about him. He has motivated me in more ways. And just looking at this after a long day, I can hear him running onto the field going, chop, chop, let's go, let's go. And that just machine gun-like dialogue, that rhythm of that speech that just makes you want to get up and get into the lineup and do something for him, just for him to look over and say, good job. Have you ever been around someone, Digger, who just makes you feel good about being alive like this guy?
Well, of course, that's the difference between a winner and a loser and a leader. And you think, talking about people like General George Patton in World War II, you think about Winston Churchill and the great speeches and how he brought England out of the war. If it hadn't been for him, we'd probably be sitting here with swastikas behind us. But Lou Holtz has that tremendous leadership ability, the tremendous confidence, and I've seen him walk in the room with presidents, congressmen, all-Americans, and everyone just stops when he comes in, 160 pounds, whatever he weighs, and he just commands so much respect and attention.
You know, let me just give you one story about respect and attention. And this is a fact, folks, and I've been fortunate to MC a number of these Hall of Fame dinners, in the early days especially. And protocol always, for me, was when the keynote speaker would say something, you'd kind of go to stage left and stand there in a very military-like fashion. You know the story. So I did that, and just before he was to speak, he put his hand and just gently cupped the microphone so the audience wouldn't hear, and he leaned over and he said, look, no one stands when the coach talks. And I went, yes, sir. And I sat right down. Love this guy, love this function. The Florian Hall in Wintersville does a fabulous job for $125. You got to Call to get tickets. Time is running out. $125, all sorts of good stuff. And I'll give you the phone number, folks. It's 330-386-5443. We're going to go through the list, and we have done it before on Facebook and YouTube and on the radio. But let's begin with Peggy Miller Bonson. Let's talk about her.
Well, she's, of course, retired lieutenant colonel from the Army. She is from New Cumberland, went Chester High School, West Virginia University, and every unit she was in as a military officer, she was the only woman, and yet she would be the commanding officer. She is a sister to a gentleman that we all know, Fred Miller, who's been a journalist here in the Upper Ohio Valley for a long time. And they live over in the Cumberland area. They're farm people, great people.
You know, speaking of the East Liverpool area and East Liverpool Review, I always make it a point to drive by there to see what's happening in the newsroom, okay, just to kind of look in. And I love the newspaper business. One of the things that I enjoyed while I did play-by-play for 20 years was to always get that copy, that Saturday morning copy of the East Liverpool Review. Because I'm a picture guy. I mean, yeah, I read the articles because I did the coaching shows on the radio. I kind of scanned the articles, but I did what I had to do. But the pictures were incredible. And Jimmy Joe Savage, bar none, he can capture that moment that will last a lifetime. And there's still nothing like a picture. Life magazine, Look magazine. I think of those pictures that will truly be right here for the rest of my life. And I think of all those great Potter action shots and all of those wonderful East Liverpool Potters. But I got to believe when you and Coach were doing your thing back in the 50s, that probably was like everything to get your hands on that paper, to see the pictures the next day of the game for Friday night.
Sure, and the paper was, in those days, it was hot lead, and they had to make little blocks. There was a studio in town that just made the engravings to make the pictures happen. Now Jimmy Joe can be in Zanesville or Cambridge or somewhere and have the picture back in 30 seconds and ready to go. But the newspaper industry has changed. Everything changes. Nothing stays the same.
Yeah, but it gets better, though. This digital stuff, what he's doing, some of the Steelers stuff he takes, his action shots. Look, I've been in this business for a few years, and I've seen some great photography, but he's pretty good. Maybe there should be a place for him in the hall someday.
Well, we're looking to at this time, I wrote the book, The First 100 Years of Potter Football, which concluded in 1997. Jimmy and I now are starting on the next 25 years, if I live that long.
You will.
But we have 19 seasons in, and we're working to do another book, hopefully with 25 years, which will be 2022, so stick around.
All right, we got to call the mayor of Steubenville. Don't want to make him wait, so let's get to it. You said this guy actually can go Carpoletto and Carpolato.
Either way.
Okay, tell me about Paul.
He's a great gentleman, was in the business in the Steubenville area, coal business, coal mining, which was prevalent in Jefferson County for a lot of years, has been extremely active in Franciscan University, Steubenville, over the years, and chairman of the board, and has been very involved in the Barron Club, which is the booster club for Steubenville University sports. All
right, up next, Frank Chan. I know the story. Tell them.
Well, Frank, of course, he's the last living member of the 1947 state final basketball team. Gus Duca, who was a mascot on that team, just passed away. Gus was just, I can't say enough good things about Gus, but I think Frank's the last member. He went to W&J, played, and was interrupted by military, 3 years in the military, came back, finished, got his degree, came here to East Liverpool as an assistant basketball coach, then head coach, before he took the job as the head basketball coach at Beaver Falls, which meant both sports in Beaver Falls were headed up by East Liverpool graduates. Larry Bruno, class of 40 at Liverpool, was the football coach.
And, well, folks, WPIL championship in 60 with Namath, Larry Bruno, 1970 state title in basketball, Frank Chan. All right, late Carl Popwarner, this is a wonderful story. So we'll close on this. Go ahead.
Well, this is another Gus Duca story. Gus was I guess we'd call a YMCA gym rat, like a lot of us were, and he was a big fan of Pops, and Gus nominated Pop Warner for the Holtz Hall of Fame. Pop came here, he was an orphan, he became an assistant, then the director of the YMCA here. He introduced the Coin Club, the Stamp Club, the High Y, And then most essentially, well, you'd say maybe the train race, but more than that, the toy train race he was the man that introduced the Bill Booth Award to the high school football program to the outstanding senior player on 5 categories for East Ripple High School.
All right, here we go. Lifetime Achievement Award keynote speaker, 4-time Super Bowl champion, Penn State grad. Absolutely love him. He is Franco Harris. So that's going to be a special night, and for only $125. But I highly urge you to make a call because you can't get him at the door. 330-386-5443. So let me say to you, this is probably the first time this has ever happened. Blue and white forever.
I appreciate that.
I beat him to the punch. Dominic Musi Jr. next. Stay with us.